Hello, everyone. This is Angel Aviles coming to you with 30 Inspiring Women, brought to you by Living Firme. And today I have an incredible woman. I'm so excited. If I sound giddy, please forgive me. Kathy Cano-Murillo is the founder of CraftyChica.com. I'm going to run through a list of all of the incredible things she's up to. She's had a podcast series on iTunes. She has had a series on LifetimeTV.com. She has a gallery. She has product lines. She is the ultimate example of doing what you love and doing it to the max. She has sold her handmade Mexi-Boho-style art and craft to hundreds of retailers, including Bloomingdale's, Target, and Hallmark. She wrote a weekly syndicated Arizona Republic newspaper column for 8 years and has authored not one, but 7 books, including Crafty Chica's Art de la Soul and Crafty Chica's Guide to Artful Sewing. She's also had 2 published novels, Waking Up in the Land of Glitter and Miss Scarlet's School of Patternless Sewing. Both novels are available on paperback, ebook, and audiobook. So please support a Latina and buy one of those novels. Kathy lives in Phoenix, and we were just discussing that both of her kids have moved out. So now it's Crafty Chica, her husband, also artist, Patrick Murillo, and their chihuahuas. Oh my gosh, I now need a nap because just reading your bio is like an incredible journey. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be a part of this series. It just sounds so inspiring.
Of course. I could not do this and not include you. Gosh, we've been friends for a long time. I remember doing an interview with you. Oh my gosh, I think it was for the newspaper.
Yeah.
And that was many, many years ago. And I have just watched you just glitter your way to internet rock stardom, and you're such an inspiration because, particularly because you're one of the first people that boldly took your culture and without selling out, quote unquote, took it to mainstream. And it's been such an encouraging journey for me as a Latina, as an artist, to watch you bring all of this flavor to the DIY and craft world. Tell me a little bit about growing up, how you got into art and how you came upon your journey.
Well, I think the overarching foundation has always been a lesson that I learned from my dad. He always said, instead of complaining about something, take action and do something to fix it. And I have applied that in every aspect of my life. And, my dad has passed away now, but it's just amazing the lessons that they teach us and how important they are to really pay attention and apply them. And so all the way from grade school, I used to love to write stories and draw a picture to go with it. And I loved that me being the only little brown chubby girl in all of the 5th grade, my teacher she loved my stories, and she would have me go up in front of everyone and read my story out loud, and all of the kids would laugh at the right places. They weren't laughing at me, they were laughing with me. And I realized the power of creativity, how it can win people over. And from there, that just kind of became like my go-to for making friends and meeting new people. And I just knew growing up that I wanted to do something in that kind of area. And just to test it, I went through, in my early 20s of working at the traffic court. I worked at the bank for 1 week, and I walked out on a Friday. I thought, well, maybe I need to grow up and go be a professional and work at the bank. And that one Friday, I will never forget. I was walking out on my lunch hour, and my friend had a showmobile where bands would set up and play during lunchtime for all of the office workers. And I was like, I hate my job. Like, I know my parents are so proud of me because I got this great job at the main branch of the bank, but I just hate it. And he said, hey, we're hiring for the showmobile. Like, you would, like, go to each location and set it up. It was to the city of Phoenix, and I'm like, I'll take it. And I went back to work, and I'm like, I'm turning in my notice to go work on the showmobile. So I have tested out doing jobs where I just didn't love it. And that really set it in motion that the magic comes from loving what you do. And there are sacrifices that have to be made. I mean, you can't make $1 million setting up a showmobile as opposed to a steady paycheck working for the bank, but it's all, you get paid in different ways. And I've just learned how to be creative to get paid so that we can do those bigger types of things. Crafty Chica, I actually started it in 2003 because I was writing my newspaper column and I wanted to be able to make my craft tutorials available for people who didn't get the newspaper. And I hated that I could not find any Latino-centric craft tutorials in the craft industry. We're talking at the time, $23 billion industry. Right now, it's at $43 billion. And a big chunk of that are Latinas who buy these supplies and craft, yet we are not represented. So in 2003, instead of complaining, I took action. I launched Crafty Chica so that I could show women how to make their own loteria pillow, how to make their own pan dulce ornaments for Christmas, because it was not being covered anywhere, nor was anyone selling anything like that. There were only a small import items from Mexico or fine art from Latina artists. There was nothing in the middle. And so I started looking at stores like Target and Macy's, and I said, what is the Latina version of what they're selling in those stores, of the trends? And then I would do a tutorial of it. And that's what took off, like finding that niche that needs to be filled. And that's what led to my first book and to, being written up in the New York Times and the Washington Post and all of that. And now it's different because now there's a lot of Latina makers. Like on Instagram, I love seeing all the creations and creativity that's coming out of young women that are my daughter's age. Like they are reclaiming it. And for me, having made a living from this for like the past 20 years, it makes me happy that this next generation is woke. Like they're doing it and they're making it available for everybody. And it also inspires me to move on and do other things too.
I love how the millennials are taking back culture and really, really finding a brand new appreciation for it and putting their own spin on it. I love the return to food from the earth, things our abuelitas eat, and a new desire to learn how to create, even some of the alternative practices that are coming up. It's just really beautiful, and to also be able to share on such a global scale. The internet has allowed that to transpire. I have so many questions. The first thing is, in following that, in knowing that you knew what you loved and you followed the magic of being in love with what you do, how did that change? And did you deal with fears once you started a family?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because my husband and I, on our wedding night, we were like, oh, we want to make a living doing art, music, and writing, like all creative things. At one point, we'd had our 2 little kids. There's not a lot of money coming in. We both had to go find jobs. We both got a job at this gourmet sandwich place, and I got the job of doing catering, doing dessert trays and gift baskets. And I thought, I will love this because I'm doing dessert trays, which is pure happiness, and making gift baskets, which is pure happiness. But I had to work so many hours in order to, make up the money for the bills. And my husband, he had to work a lot of hours, and it was like, entry level job. And there were moments I remember like having to step away so my tears wouldn't fall in the brownies on the dessert tray, thinking, what am I doing? Life can't be all dessert trays. Like, there has to be some more substance, like in a regular diet, and just questioning everything. But you know what? Making those dessert trays gave me time to think of plans. And I started thinking, okay, here we have these local stores in town. What is the one thing that people keep ordering that keeps selling? And, okay, it was birdhouses. So I'm like, okay, we have a woodworker who makes the birdhouses. They're $4 each. If I can take a portion of my paycheck to get 10 birdhouses, I can sell them for $24 wholesale. That will make this, like, I just started doing the math and calculating how I could get out of the situation. And once I was able to do that, sometimes you have to be down low in order to get a bigger view of the clouds as the sky. It was that kind of moment. And because you stick with what is comfortable, and we're conditioned that you have to have that 2-week paycheck to be secure. But when you're a creative, that 2-week paycheck can be limiting to what you're really capable of. And so it has been peaks and valleys of learning what works and what doesn't work. Before the recession, we were selling like $800 paintings, $1,000 paintings. The recession hit, and we had this big show coming up, and I told my husband, I said, people are not going to spend that much money on paintings, and we need to make money at this show, Big Storm. And instead of doing 10 to 12 big paintings, we did about 50 8x10 paintings that we sold for $50 each. So there was just a big wall of every painting $50. And we sold so many of them because people were like, oh, is that repetition factor? It's pleasing to the eye, and just having one price point. And it was like such a good strategy. So we really learned you have to be able to be flexible and be creative in your thinking.
Oh, I just love that. And I also love that you and your husband, as creatives, found a way to make peace with money. I think one of the saddest things that I see is artists who are so creative not learning how to make peace with charging. Where do you think that comes from, and how did you overcome any kind of objections that you might have had as an artist?
It's a constant thing that is still evolving, because we have been, we were raised with a scarcity mindset. It's all out of fear, like you better get a steady job or, you won't have any money. Everything is revolved around money, 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 get more money, get more money. And for me, it was always about that scarcity mindset where we would think, oh, all we want is just enough to pay our bills. We just want enough to get by. And that is exactly what we got. So God forbid the air conditioning went out or the car broke down, we would go into freak out mode, and we'd have to raise $2,000 in 3 days, something like that. And it wasn't until recently that, I don't know if you've ever heard of Nellie Galan, but she's been like a financial mentor to me who really helped me see things in a different way of, instead of thinking about how you will squeeze $1 out of a dime, you think, how can I take $1 and turn it into $100? Like, she really puts it straight. And once I got in that mindset of that, money is just energy, it's like we are the ones in charge. It's not in charge of us. We're in charge of it. And you adjust your life to what you want. And by letting go of that fear of like, oh my God, I got to have this much, it kind of changes it to where it comes easier. And I'm not saying that, obviously I'm not like a multimillionaire or anything like that. I'm like at a place where I feel comfortable, and it took leaving a full-time salary spokesperson job. And when I had that full-time salaried spokesperson job, I felt like I was always worrying about money and waiting for the paycheck, being broke between paychecks. And it wasn't until I left that job and went full-time on my own that I started making more money than that job, because I removed that fear and like, oh, I better buy this right now while I have the money because I'm going to be broke later. Like, I hate using that word broke. I just have a better mind shift about all of it. And it's also knowing you have to put in the work and think strategically with it. I have so many different things that I love to do, and not all of them are monetized, but most of them are monetized in one way or another.
For the most part, we come from a lineage of hard workers. I mean,
yes.
I look at our ancestors. And like the work part isn't necessarily the hard part, because you can work a job that you hate and somehow they're paying you that regular whatever it is that's going to provide you that comfort. But when it comes to the discipline involved in creativity, I think that's where we might lose a little bit of what it really takes to make a living in the creative arts.
Yes, and it's full circle, because in the creative arts, it's a balance. I mean, you have to make sure your product, your brand looks like the money you're charging. So things have to look finished on the back. You turn it over, if there's paint splotches or it's messed up, you can't be charging a lot of money. You have to clean it up and make it look super professional. You want your website to look very, lively and engaging and polished. If you're going to ask for, $1,000 a blog post or something like that, you have to be able to make sure it all matches up. But at the same time, there's some areas where you want to make sure you're not adding extras where you don't need extras. And like, I was in this one store recently in town, and it was such a beautiful store. And every single thing that you purchase, they wrap it up in a piece of tissue. And I just started thinking, like, it makes the other customers wait longer to be rung up. And then it's kind of, even though it looks pretty, it's just kind of a pain to unwrap it all. And then you have this extra tissue, and we're all about recycling and using less waste, all of that. And I thought, wow, she could totally, like, not have to do the tissue on every single little item. And, my brain is turning, like, thinking of these things. So it's a balance to really look at the full picture of where you should put your energy and your money, and to be able to look like the money that you want to charge. And we all know our work is valuable, our time is valuable, and we have to follow through to make sure it relays that visually as well. I go to a lot of art fairs, and I'll see artists or craft people, and I'll go, oh, if they had just done this one little thing, they could have upped the price so much on this. But that all comes with experience. We've been there. Trust me, we have been there. We have crashed and burned on things where I had all these things ready to go into a store. It was in the middle of summer in Phoenix, and the store owner opened the box, and they had all melted together. Oh, I wanted to die. I was so embarrassed. So it all comes from experience.
Yes. And I know that you give so many, not only do you, demonstrate products, but you give so many tips on so many of your platforms. So I just want to cover again how people can find you.
So, basically right now, I have the podcast, all of social as at Crafty Chica. I have several product lines that you can find from different retailers. I'm working on 6 new product lines coming up for 2018 and 2019. And my website where I post all different articles. And then I'm planning a retreat in Mexico for December 2018, and I have not announced the details yet. We're still finishing up the flyers. But, for 10 years I've done the Crafty Chica art cruise. And so we're going to do something different for this year and make it a land retreat in Mexico. And then if you're in Phoenix, I have a Phoenix store called Mucho Mas Art Studio that I opened with a friend of mine, which has been crazy busy, super fun. And every summer here in Phoenix, I run the Latino Bloggers Boot Camp. I've worked with some other business professionals. We have an open call for submissions. We get about 70 applications, and we pick out 8 to 9 people to put them through a blogger boot camp so that they will be able to make money from their blog. And that is every summer. So that's where I do my best to give back, of taking what I learned and then teaching other people how to do it in my community.
Booyah. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Kathy, we've gone on for quite a bit, and I could talk to you forever. One thing I do want to cover, too, because you're extremely successful in business, and it's just such a joy to watch you as a creative be that. But I so admire your marriage and your family. Talk to me a little bit. Of course. I love how, you and Patrick are both artists, and you support one another, and you give each other time to shine. I love that. I want to talk about how you met.
At the traffic court. He worked in courtroom 2, and I worked in courtroom 4. We were bailiff's assistants. And, at that time, we were 21, and our parents were so well-meaning and encouraging and helped us get in there with interviews, thinking that, oh, my God, if you get a job with the city of Phoenix, you're set for life. You'll never have to look for another job again, because the city paid well. They had so many great benefits. And both of us, after 3 years, were like, I don't want to work here the rest of my life. I took a trip to Europe. He took a trip to Jamaica. And we came back, and then he was like, I want to play music. And I was like, I'll be your manager. And we both quit working at the traffic court, and we ended up, just staying really, really good friends, and then ultimately getting married. And we knew getting married, like, what attracted us to each other was sharing our dreams and our creativity. So we knew that in order to make it work, we would have to help take on the other person's dreams as our own to make sure they would happen. And I know that his passion is music, and so to this day, I help him get gigs. He's at band practice right now, and with mine, he knows that whatever I happen to be into, he'll help me with it. I was making these copper and silver jewelry pieces this morning, and he went and got the Dremel and showed me how to polish them, and so we take turns helping each other, and I think that has helped all along the way, is not ever thinking, oh, I'm going to change them, or I don't like that about them, I'm going to change it, but instead, embracing it and as part of your lifestyle.
Oh, yes. This has been an amazing interview, and thank you again so much for taking the time to chat with us and give us so much insight and inspiring our creativity. I super appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And a shout out to all the creative parents out there and their creative kids. Like, keep it going. That's what we need for our culture. We need to keep it going. Learn your money, get good money habits so that we can all be financially successful and prosper and keep it going in a positive, big way.
Oh, yes. Amen.